Hello and welcome to this episode of Haunted Histories being recorded on the hottest day that the UK has ever seen. So if you hear my voice starting to do that, it's because I'm melting. I am melting. I mean, I'm in the south of the UK as well. So we know that it was well over 40 degrees here during the day. And as I was telling my guest, we don't have aircon in this country. In fact, I did read that the government's recommendation, if you're too hot, was either go to church, because the churches are nice and cold, or don't do all your shopping in one go. Spread it out so you can spend more time in the supermarkets that are air conditioned. That just is really the sort of things I can imagine as being given. Anyway, what's happened since I last spoke to you? Well, you all know I got to visit the Tower of London with my last podcast guest, the wonderful Mr. Tom Horton, whose tickets are now on sale for his gigs next year. So if you're in the UK and you want to go and see a very funny comedian, do go. And I say I did get to spend an hour at the Tower of London and I got released and he let me back out again at the end of it. So that was all good. I also got to do my investigation at RAF Tibenham with some wonderful members of the public and some wonderful volunteers as well the other weekend. And that was a bit of an experience. And those people who are running these kind of events for a living, I take my hat off to you because it's not easy. It's not easy. But my guest tonight is a lovely young gentleman who I met when I was lucky enough to be one of the special guests at the Festival of the Unexplained earlier this year. And I can say he's one of those people who, when I first met him, I thought he doesn't like me very much. He's not speaking to me. He's not interacting. And then I worked out he's one of those watchers. He's one of those people who sits in the corner and watches until he decides whether he likes you. And I realized he actually did like me when he offered to help me get up on a bench so that I could talk to everyone when I was doing the Bosworth thing, because he's quite tall and I'm quite short. It's the wonderful, the lovely, that never let him near your phone unlocked, Mr. Daniel Klaes. Hello, my lovely. How are you?
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm hot.
I know. That's horrible.
Yeah, it's when I wish I was in the States, because at least in the States you have aircon everywhere.
I know it's about 23 degrees here today. Not too bad, right?
That's quite pleasant.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say we'd normally be about 25, 26 at this time of year. Yeah.
It's a nice day today. Here, sunny, beautiful, not so 40.
Apparently we're hotter than Barbados today, which just isn't right, is it?
No, things are changing, huh?
They must, either that or I've gone to hell and nobody's told me.
Yeah, well, you can always go to the grocery store later. I mean, whatever,
I did that advice did make me laugh. Yes, don't do all your shopping in one go, spread it out so you can spend more time in an air-conditioned supermarket. I mean,
good gravy.
Yeah. So we met in March, didn't we? And you were laughing on camera when I was saying that I thought you didn't like me, and then I realized you were one of those watcher types, and you were nodding your head. Aren't you?
I like to take everything in, and I like to feel people's personalities, and I don't want to offend people. I'm in a new country. I'm meeting a lot of new people, and I just I like everybody to get along and everybody to like each other, and you just got to see how people are, and then obviously I came to the conclusion by the end of the Festival of the Unexplained that everybody's a bunch of party animals and everybody likes a nice brew, and it was a really fun time, and you could really let loose and just be who you want to be, and just be yourself. So
very much
fun. Yeah.
I was actually stone cold sober on the Saturday.
Oh yeah.
I didn't drink a thing on the Saturday.
Oh, well, that was your day though. You had to be prep and proper.
Yeah, no, Friday. I think Friday night I had a couple because of doing the talk during that Bosworth tour. That you were my flag bearer.
Yes, I was.
Great job you did there. Thank you very much. And obviously our mutual friend, Mr. Rob Thompson, was Henry Tudor. I think he quite enjoyed that role.
Oh yeah.
So that night, yes, I did allow myself a couple of vodkas and Diet Cokes to sort of decompress, but yeah, the Saturday night I thought, I'm not drinking.
What would you get for that rain today? Holy cow, it would be nice.
It would be nice. The thing is that I mean, everyone said to me who came on it, they didn't even notice the rain because Is that true, or are they just being nice to
I
me?
no, I think that it was just so interesting that it was just it was like a normal presentation. It didn't even
Mm,
matter how the weather was. It was it was just fun. It was a fun time.
good, good. And I hear you're coming back next year.
Yes, I was invited, and I'm excited to be coming back. I think it's going to be a fun time again.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously lessons learned from this year, things that might be done a little bit differently. And I know Rachel and Karen are working hard.
Oh yeah,
I think half the VIP tickets have already sold. If I'm
I think more than half of the VIP tickets are
Mm,
already sold. I've been talking to Karen a lot and giving her my 2 cents, and in a very constructive way, in a very positive way.
mm,
'Cause I've been involved with a lot of festivals, and I
yeah,
really truly like the way that she ran it, because of the how close everybody got to be,
yeah,
the proximity, and how you really get to know all the people that you're with. I
mm,
really like that aspect of what she's doing, as opposed to having everybody sitting in a big hall with a table, and everybody's going around in a circle, and then the day is over, and you see all these pictures of yourself that you don't know who the people are, and
yeah,
and in this for instance, you get to dance with these people, you get to drink with these people, you get to take pictures with everybody, and you become kind of like a little family by the end
yeah,
of it. And I just really liked that whole aspect of it, and
yeah,
she's tweaking it, and I think we'll just see how she does with the next one. I think that
yeah.
she can only it can't get any worse, and it can get it can get better too. You know
It
what
can
I
only
mean?
improve.
Yeah,
It can only improve. You're
and
never gonna do perfect on your first go. And it was her
and
first go at running one of these, which is
and
incredibly brave.
the fact that she has sold out over half the VIPs already tells her that she did something right. So,
Very much so. Very much so. I look forward to seeing who else is going to be on the list.
hmm,
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I might have a little insider, but we'll see.
Well, I'm sure you and Karen discussing who to get on the list, but no, I only know what I see
Hmm.
announced. So I've had people going, who else do you know? Are you going? I don't know. I don't know. I know not. I know not. All I know is who's been confirmed, and
Stay tuned. Get your
you're one of
VIP
them.
tickets now, and then you can be excited when you know that you get to meet these people when they
Mm,
come.
definitely, definitely. So Hinsdale House is what you're famous for. In
Yes.
fact, if I put this on, I don't know if I'll put this on the video, but just behind your head is a nice poster. Is that the film that was made of
No,
that?
this is actually a giant recreation of Andy's ad that he put in Haunted Magazine that I have put on my wall.
Okay.
So this is just a promote. It was a promotional ad for Hinsdale House, and I just liked it so much that I blew it up and threw it into a big frame, put it on my wall.
He's rather bloody talented, that Mr. Saw, isn't he?
He certainly is.
Hmm. Yeah, because he's done all the covers of all my books as well, and I wouldn't go to anyone else if I'm honest. He
Yeah,
always
he's
comes up with
amazing.
something left of field. And you're a Haunted Magazine stockist as well, aren't you?
I am. I have. I do Canada and the United States, all the subscriptions, and any type of mail orders or anything like that. So
Hmm. So you're part of that team as well. That I'm part. We're in so many teams together here, Dan. You realise that, don't you?
yes, yes,
Ah,
we are, and
ah.
we didn't even know it.
We didn't even know. We didn't even know. But Hinsdale House. Hinsdale House. Now, let's go down to the basics here. For those of us who don't really know the geography of the states, tell me, where is Hinsdale House exactly?
So Hinsdale House is in New York State, not New York City, New York State, and it's on the western side of the state in the southern tier. So if you keep traveling along New York State, you're at New York City, and you keep going all the way as far west as you can go, you're going to hit Buffalo, New York. Many
Mhm.
people know who the Bills are, so maybe that will put it into proximity. Now you got to travel about an hour and a half south of Buffalo, New York, in the hills of Cattaraugus County. They call it the Enchanted Mountains, and there will sit a house, the Hinsdale House, alone on the top of a mountain, basically, with very little neighbors or anything like that. It's just a lot. It was 100 acres of farmland with a house on it.
Wow. Because wasn't it part of a town called Olean or something?
Olean,
Yeah,
yes. Olean is a neighboring town.
right.
Hinsdale was actually the largest town in Cattaraugus County until it was burned down by a war between the settlers and the Native Americans. And then Olean became the largest town in Cattaraugus County, and it still is to this day. And it's
Okay.
about 15 minutes down the road.
Okay. See, to us in the UK, 15 minutes down the road is a long way. It's
Yeah.
not like the next town. That's like the other side of the county almost. That's one of the things that when I'm sort of talking to people from the States, from Canada, Australia even, and they're saying, yeah, it's the next town. It's an hour and a half away. It's like, what? That's like the other side of the country for me. It's quite hard to get your head around it. So the house itself, when was it built, and do you know by who?
So the house was built in 1853 by the Everett's brothers,
Right.
from what I can look back on. It's weird because when I first got the house, you get information and you have to have a story, in order to, and you kind of go with what you're told. And then as you start researching and then you find other people that research, the story evolves and the story changes. And I'm okay with that because I can say that, like, at the beginning, I was wrong on a couple of things and my timeline was off, and I was able to get corrected by somebody. And people are scared. It seems like people are scared to correct other, like an owner or something like that. But I suck it in, and I'm excited because it opens up a whole new leg of mystery to the location. You know what I mean? And I've always been one to take criticism well, and I've always been one to want to work with other people because I've been come in contact with some amazing researchers, way better than me, and I appreciate them so much because they know where to look for things and they know where to find things, and they have access to things that I don't have access to. And when you can put something in and it corroborates maybe a story or some folklore of the location, it's really important to me, and being able to tell the story correctly to the people that come there.
You also need to find one who's a complete nerd, who to them a good night out is being stuck in the archives for 6 hours looking for stuff.
Yes.
We're a rare breed.
I mean, I don't think I'd have a problem with that either if it was the right archive,
Yeah, I was trying to think which one for you. It probably would be, I don't know if New York State has an archive or if it would be the county.
There's an archive at St. Bonaventure College that is locked, and I can't get in it, even though the box says Hinsdale House on it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the people that are in there it's a Catholic, school, and
Vatican
I think
controlled.
Yes, they're controlling the living still. But I bet you there's some interesting information in there.
Well, I know some people, to them, the archive that they would break into and risk being put in prison is the Vatican, is to get into the Vatican records and see just what's in there, because it could. But
very interesting. That's for sure.
Well, you mentioned the college. Obviously, that's got the big link to Hinsdale. I mean, we're jumping forward 120 years here, but
true.
And we're going to come back to that. So keep that thought. But why did you buy the house in the first place? I mean, you didn't buy it to live in it, did you? You didn't buy it as a family home. What possessed you, literally?
I mean, as an investigator, somebody that explores the unknown, it was a location that really stood out to me, going there as an investigator.
Right.
Things happened, devices went off, and things happened that I couldn't explain. And I kind of felt like there was voices and the energies there needed to have a voice. Then they couldn't talk, and they weren't having the ability to talk because everybody always focused on what happened in the 1970s there. And there's a lot of layers to this place. There's a lot of different things that have happened there on or around the property. And it's not being looked at. It's only, everybody focuses on this failed exorcism in the 1970s. Yeah. Not that that's not important or a good story, but in order to find out what's making it tick, you really need to dive in more. And that's what I started doing. And it was weeks before the house was to be torn down. All the electrical and ductwork was ripped out of it. It was a shell ready to be torn down. And I was in the kitchen, and I actually have it documented on my YouTube station. And just me, the co-founder of my paranormal group, the manager of the house at the time, Michelle, and a camera guy, Tim Shaw. And they were talking about the exorcism. Nothing was happening. And then finally, I just, some of the research that I'd done, I had researched the older couple that lived there in the 1980s, the Misniks. And I said, Flo, are you here? Because I knew she had passed away. and I got just a jolting sensation up my arm, goosebumps, hair standing up straight, and the K2 meter in my hand went all the way to 500 milligauss. And I continued to have what I felt was a full-fledged conversation with her, to the point where I said, Flo, will you hold my hand as we go up the stairs? And the K2 meter stayed lit in my hand all the way up the stairs into the master bedroom. And then I lost her, but I felt very connected with her. And then just to add to the synchronicities, the next day I posted a picture of the Hinsdale House up on my timeline on Facebook and was bragging a bit about being there. And I get a message from this lady named Jackie Chandra, who happened to be Flo Misnick's granddaughter. And she says, oh, you were at my grandparents' house. And I said, what? So it really just kind of locked in for me mentally, if I can get this done somehow, that I wanted to try to save this place, even though it needed so much work to even stabilize the location. That was a tough sell to my wife. So, but yeah, no, it was that moment that I knew that I wanted to try to save it if possible. And it was actually almost a wrecking ball. So, and we were able to save it.
Wow. I do think it's saving some of these places. There's a couple of people in the UK who are doing that a lot. They're taking over places that are derelict and doing them up so that groups can go in and investigate and help fund them and everything else. And I do think it's important with the history, because whether, but one of the things that I sort of have read about with the Hinsdale House is there's a lot of kind of opposing views as to the folklore that's around the place and the truth. And there's a couple of bloggers who seem to be very, very sort of antagonistic about the folklore. They're like, this is rubbish, you're just trying to promote something, you're just trying to make it look worse than it is, etc., etc. And what you're saying about researchers saying, actually, I think you're wrong, I think this is what happened, they don't seem to want to do that. They seem to want to make someone look like an idiot.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's in regards to one of the bloggers that you came across, Cassidy, we're really good friends now. Like it took a while because she was very close with Clara Dandy, who lived in the house in the 1970s. And I knew in order for me to have to break through to get to speak to Clara and actually get her story, she had to know me. She had to know who I was, what I stood for, and what my ideas were for the home to protect it and protect its stories and make sure that the stories were told right. At the beginning, me buying the house probably came across as he's buying it to make money. He's buying it to, and she can
attention seeking. All of that.
You can see the difference. I mean, you can see all the money that's been put into it. If you look at pictures from when I bought it to what it looks like now, and it's all about doing things the right way and for the right reasons. Eventually, she got a hold of me, which I was like, when she called me, I was like blown away. And she's like, we need to go have a beer. And I said, tell me when and where. And I drove all the way down there and we sat and we talked for hours. And she's like, I really didn't want to like you, she said. She goes, but I kind of do. I do. And we've been friends ever since. And
good.
She's an amazing researcher. She's actually she's helped me out a lot with the history of the house. And she's helped me out with things that I found at the house. And I've also discovered things that she hasn't figured out, and she's pissed about it because she knows she's a good researcher, but we've actually uncovered things that she couldn't. But it's all good, I mean, it's all working together. And if I didn't have her pieces of information, maybe nothing would have been uncovered. So that's what I always preach to, is trying to work together. Don't hold grudges against people you don't know until you know it, until you figure out that they're an ass. Then fine, hold a grudge if you want. But
it was her blog I was alluding to. Yes.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I don't even mind saying her name, because she's amazing.
No, I was very impressed with it as a researcher myself.
Yeah,
I was like, the level of detail in this absolutely blew me away.
She also had the benefit of, she worked at St. Bonaventure, so she had access to things that I didn't. Yes.
So, you can tell her from me, I as a fellow researcher, I was incredibly impressed with what and the way she laid it out as well.
The Hinsdale Follies. And boy, when that was spreading around, there were certain people, you could see the ones that wanted to see me fall, the ones that were sharing it and say, see, he's a liar, blah, blah, blah. And that wasn't my intention. My intention was to raise funds to fix the place up, basically, and use it as a research center and be very casual about it. I wasn't going to turn it into a fun house. I wasn't going to, and I still to this day will not. I've had people say, well, let's have a Paracon. I'm not, it's not the way that people roll up there. People come to Hinsdale because they want it quiet.
Right.
They don't want 150, 200 people there. If you want to do that, you go down to the field down off Route 16, but you don't bring it up to the hills, and you have to respect the neighbors. You have to respect the people that live on that hill. And it took a while for the neighbors to like me as well, because they thought I was going to turn it into a fun house, and that wasn't my intention. And they can see now that it's a well-kept, maintained farmhouse from the 1800s. And
so is it a farming area? Is that area a very strong rural sort of area itself?
It is. A lot of farms coming up the hill, a lot of acreage. I have 10 acres now of the original 100 because it was split up into little plots, but trying to get some of it back.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad to hear that amazing researcher and you are friends, because I was incredibly impressed with her articles that I was reading, and I was kind of a bit protective over you, thinking people make mistakes, and then so it's quite good to.
She just had to come to that realization, that's the way it was, and I wasn't as well versed as she was, but I was interested in preserving the history.
I mean, that's one of the things that I've learned doing Haunted Histories for the last 6 years is dig into these. Don't take these folklore as fact. And that's why I set up Haunted Histories in the first place, because I was getting so fed up with people coming out as fact things they'd read on the internet or something a medium had picked up, and then they've built this story around it. And anything that's happened from 1800 onwards, it's actually quite easy to check if someone died, if someone's been born, if something especially in the UK, if something was run as a children's home, for example, it's very easy to check. And these stories one place would have all these stories about it, and it'd be like, nah, this doesn't sound right. And that's why I set up Haunted Histories, to sort of dig into these things and show people that the truth is actually sometimes more interesting than the things that they concoct. So it was interesting to read that. Now, one of the things I did read about the area that I thought was superb was it was part of the Underground Railway, wasn't it?
Most of Western New York was, because of its close proximity to Canada.
Yeah.
You're talking right on the Niagara region, Niagara Falls. We're only 20 minutes from Niagara Falls. Hinsdale is about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on where you would go over. But yeah, I mean, it was right in the real close to Pennsylvania, and it would have been definitely a heightened area to bring up the slaves for the Underground Railroad, for sure.
So I was thinking that from an energy perspective would have been a sort of thing for the land to be absorbing that kind of energy. Now, one of the stories, for want of a better term, about Hinsdale from the 1800s was that it was run by an inn for a while, because it was a stagecoach route, and these two inn owners, Ian and Richard, I believe are said to be their names, were murderous rapists.
Yeah.
Over to you.
I mean, there's no proof of any of that, and I mean, it's interesting because as you dive into the folklore and the stories that are told, you have to make sure that you say it as such. You can't just say that there's these people that were murdering and raping and killing people. There's no proof of that. So it's, there really isn't at this point. I can say that we have found out while we were excavating some of the property and taking some of the dirt that was dumped from the pond that was built there on the right side of the pond and flattening that out, we were able to find an additional building, the foundation from an additional building.
All right.
And maybe that has something. Maybe that was the original foundation. Maybe that's an outpost. I don't know what it is, but I do everything. I try to go above and beyond to make sure that people don't pin anybody as murderers or rapists unless they were convicted in court. At this point, we've also in order, because even like from the way that I tell it to maybe one of my guides that checks somebody in there for the night and tells the story, it sometimes can differ. So what we've done at the house is we've actually made like little plaques that you can scan as you enter the home, and then there's 11 of them throughout the house that will help tell the history, share evidence, do interviews with Clara Dandy, interviews with the priest from St. Bonaventure, all things at their fingertips of the history that they can get to help utilize in their investigation.
Wow. That sounds fascinating. Well,
fun.
I did do a little look to see if I could find any hotels that were in inns that were in Hinsdale. I'm that nerdy, honestly. I really am. And all I could find was two names who lived in Hinsdale, your Hinsdale, not one of the other Hinsdales anywhere else, who were on the census records for, let me check what year it was, 1880, were down as hotel keepers. And there were two.
And there was a hotel, the Hinsdale Inn, that was on Route 16. And I actually have some of the, what did I get from there? I have an old matchbook cover from there before it got torn down. And I have a couple of things from the history of that hotel where it used to be. Pretty
so there were two hotel keepers. Now, it doesn't say on the census where they lived. That's why the Your American census, it wasn't completed the same way. Ours normally would have the road names and everything else. Yours just has the area. But there was two of them, and the link to the two of them I found when I dug deeper to them. One was quite a bit older than the other one, but there was an Irish link and a New York City link with both of them. So I couldn't find it with the access to records I had in the UK, but I did wonder if maybe one of them had married the relative of the other one with the Irish.
What was the last name?
Norton and Hastings.
Well, we got. I mean, send me the information. We can have it looked at, and see if there's anything that, like, one of our researchers here can look at it.
Yeah.
See it, so.
Yeah, we had a James Norton in 1880 for Hinsdale. Go on, you say the county name because I can't say it.
Cattaraugus.
That's the one. He was born in 1820. No, he was 1824. He was married to a Julia, and then there was a George H. Hastings who was married to Mary. Now, he was born in 1844, and it looks like he fought in the Civil War because he was getting a Civil War pension, which I thought was quite cool. And he was from New York, so New York City, like Big Apple, New York.
City, yes.
For anyone listening, not New York State. It did actually state he was New York City. Now,
many of the settlers all started off in the city, and that kind of spread out.
But I did actually look up his Civil War record because, again, that's what us researchers do. We find a thread and we just keep tugging it until we get to the end. And it looks like he was in it from, where did I write it down here? March 1862 to, and he was out by the 24th of October 1862. So I do wonder if he was injured or something to only have been fighting for that shorter space of time. But yeah, he was a Civil War.
And to still get his pension, he probably was injured.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. But there was an Irish link with both of them in New York. And I do know from stuff I've done before that the Irish community in New York tended to be quite close. They all tended to be in the same sort of areas, didn't they? It wasn't like they were spread out.
And there was also a big contingency in Buffalo, New York as well, South Buffalo Irish community. It still is to this day.
But yeah, so I thought that was quite interesting. There was two hotels. Now, whether they worked at the same hotel together, I don't know. Sorry, that was my dog. I know that George ended up in 1901 running a hotel called the Olide Hotel somewhere else in New York State. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. So that's how much of a nerdy researcher I am.
Well, that's cool though. You never know.
You never know what you're going to find. Exactly. So there is a chance it might have been run as an inn for some time, because I doubt they were both running the Hinsdale Inn. But who knows? So that's something that I found. When we're sort of looking at the events that have happened there, I mean, you mentioned the 1970s and the Dandy family, which is where it really gets sort of well known, because Clara she wrote a book about it, didn't she? Echoes of the Haunting.
Correct. Yeah. Yes.
And they moved in 1971, and that that got me thinking that when we think about the 1970s or late 60s, early 70s, there does seem to be a real proliferation of hauntings and almost like horror book type hauntings coming out from that era. And it made me sort of, you've got the Enfield haunting, obviously in the UK. You've got the Piron family haunting as well, Conjuring, as most people would know it by. You have East Drive in the UK, which was late 60s. You've got Hinsdale. As a researcher and someone who's got a lot of experience and someone who works closely with Nick Groff on Deathwalker, amongst other things, and I know how Nick likes to dig into theories, and you don't get to see that in some of his television stuff, do you? But when you talk to him, him and I had a 3-hour conversation about this when we met, so I know what he's like, and I'm presuming you're similar. Why would all these suddenly come up in the 1970s? What could have caused it?
I mean, I think that, if you think back before that, before the eras before that, the 1800s, up till the late 1800s, you could get killed for speculating on something like that. So it wasn't something that you would talk about much in the States. And if you did, man, that's risky, because they were all about witchcraft and things like that. And I think that, most of the country was Christian. Catholicism was the biggest religion. It still is, I think, in the States right now. And it was frowned upon, trying to dabble in that type of stuff. It was kind of like a sin, something you have to go to church and pray on. But I think it was happening. I think that people probably just tried to push it off and try to pretend like it's not there, to the point where it got real, but I don't know. It's just like a lot of things, how things evolve, and a lot of these stories were prior to like the movie The Exorcist coming out, prior to where they really pushed the boundaries with this type of stuff. All I know is that when the Dandy family came out with this information, they had like a big bullseye on their shoulders. They had people breaking into their house. They have watch guards because it was all over the news, and people didn't believe them.
You had a similar thing with the Enfield hauntings in the UK. I'm slightly too young to remember them being in the news, but I actually met someone who went to school with one of the girls who lived in the house, and she said she said I was only about 8 or 9, but I remember her coming to school and looking more and more tired every single day. And then we saw her picture in the paper, and we found out what was going on. And she said she was kind of almost a bit like this is very un-PC to say this, but a circus freak because of what she was going through. And although I think in the UK, because we don't have the sort of, we've not got the religious side that America has got anymore. We did 200 years ago, but not now. It was more a case, so it was just something I thought of. And I know the Warrens were involved in a lot of those sort of cases, and they were very good at publicizing things and everything. Did they ever come to Hinsdale?
They did.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, I just had the group, one of Tony Sparrow's, his group Nespers, were up at the house this past week, and Tony's been there. And I know, like, even during paranormal lockdown, if you can even recall back to the Hinsdale House episode that Nick did, they called Lorraine while they were at the house, and they said, Lorraine, we're up at the Hinsdale House that you guys went to. And Nick said, or Tony said, do you have any advice for Nick? And she said, go to church. Yeah, so they were often called upon to do lectures, and with it being a Catholic college, St. Bonaventure, they had been called in a few times, I believe, to do some lectures at the college. And Hinsdale's 20 minutes. The house is 20 minutes away, and Father Alphonsus had spoken with them and then invited them up to get their perspective.
Okay, so let's go to that now. We've mentioned Bonaventure a few times, so this links into when the Dandy family moved into the house, new family home, very excited, everything else. And things started happening, lights going on and off, doors slamming, banging in the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they asked for help. And this priest from the college came to perform an exorcism. Is that
First,
correct?
he came. I mean, he took it step by step. I mean, he did. They were talking for months before he even came there, according to Clara. And the first thing he did is come and perform a mass there. You know, he came to the house, and the family all were in the kitchen, and they performed a mass. And then he left, and she said things died down for a little bit, but then it came back full force. So it just kind of, you want to kind of cross your T's and dot your I's before you just jump into a structural exorcism, and then it got to that point.
Right.
In April of 74.
And it didn't work.
No, his advice to Clara was to get out, and they moved as far away as they could, all the way to California.
Wow, that's a long way. So the family obviously moved in after them because it's a nice home at the end of the day. And did anyone else ever report feeling?
Yes.
They did.
It was tough. It was tough for me until I actually purchased the house to get the deed, because it was all a land lease. It was bought by the Reese Tree Farm, but they own a lot of property in Cattaraugus County. And what they did is they did their own kind of mortgage. It was a higher interest rate, longer terms with less monthly payments,
right?
Which nobody really could ever finish paying off. It's a sucker bet, but they make out as the loaners, because the house always defaulted back to them, and they got all that money, and then they started over fresh with some new people. So there was a lot of families that happened to, and I've actually been able to interview some of the families that live there. Mm-hmm. If anybody has seen the two-part series I did on Paraflix, it's called Behind the Shadows: Decades, and in that episode, we really dove into a claim from a family that lived there in the late 60s, where right after the pond was built. And he said that he was a young boy living there with his uncle, and it was snowing out, and he thought the pond was frozen over, and he took the snowmobile and drove it out onto the pond, and it cracked through and fell through to the water. He went and got his uncle to help him pull it out. And when he turned around, he saw a man and a woman and a child levitating over the pond without legs, ghostly, And he said it stuck with him for his whole life, and he never wanted to talk about it until his daughter told him that he should, and he told us the story.
Right.
So there was a family that did move in there, and they stayed for 3 months. They were in and out within 3 months, because what was ever there was affecting them so much that they even left most of their possessions there, because they didn't want what was there to know that they left.
Wow.
So there are stories, even up to the last families that lived there, the Misniks. They said things happened, but they were an older couple, and it didn't seem like as dramatic as what people said that happened in the 70s. What was when they lived there. So I don't know if maybe they just didn't, just being an older couple, maybe they weren't just impervious to it as a younger couple, but they definitely acknowledged that there were things that would happen there, but just didn't scare them.
Because the theory is, isn't it, with poltergeist activity and that kind of thing, that it's actually they're linking on to prepubescent and adolescent children, teenagers and stuff, and it's their energy from what their bodies are going through that gives the spirit the energy to do some of the stuff. I know that with Enfield, that was one of the theories with the Perron family. That was one of the theories.
And even with the dandy's daughter Laura, who was affected there. She was, one of the younger children there.
But if it's happened to other families who've got in, albeit to a lesser extent, it would make you think that it's the ground itself that's giving off the energy. So it makes me wonder what's in the ground. What is?
Well, we know that there's oil. We know there's oil in the ground. We know that there's an underground aquifer now that goes from the hill that we actually, because it was actually, it used to fill their what do you call those wells? It used to where they got their water from, their aquifer, and then that just started pouring out onto the grounds, and it was like a swamp in the back. So we actually had to like dig and put a tunnel in so the water would travel through the tunnel to the pond, so the land could dry up again like it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we found we're able to discover the foundation that was there.
All right. So has anyone ever dived in the pond to see if there's anything in there?
We have. I have had forensic divers. There's a few things that we've done that I can tell you that we've done ground penetrating radar. We've done forensic diving the pond, but we are in coordination with what we're doing with Nick. There's going to be a series coming out that will feature kind of be kind of like a paranormal Oak Island type thing. That on folklore and stories of haunted locations, that you actually dive in and do things to really dive into the stories and see what truths come out of them.
Well, sounds like the kind of thing I'd enjoy.
Yes, I mean, we did find pieces of the barn that burned down in the pond, horseshoe, and then we found some other interesting things that you'll find out about when we release the show.
Wow, look forward to it. Look forward to it.
And this is what when I said Cassidy got mad at me, this is what she got mad about. So. Oh
well, I mean,
she's not really mad. She's just like frustrated at wasn't able to figure it out first, you know.
Well, one of the other things I found about the area that I thought was interesting. Have you heard about the Harvey Luddington murder?
No.
Oh, now I don't know where in Hinsdale this was. It definitely says it's Hinsdale. I think it's called the Haskell Flats.
I know Haskell.
Yeah.
I know that Haskell, it's right up the road.
Yeah. Well, he actually, from what I can make out, this is all I could get from records I could access here. In 1889, I believe he was 17, and he was having a row with his dad, and he threw a chair at him and killed him. Head injury. He'd also hurt his mum at the same time. Apparently, he just flipped out for no reason, and threw this chair at his dad, and fractured his skull, and that ultimately killed him. Now, then I couldn't find a lot about him, what happened to him. I know he was 17, but then it looks like this was the interesting thing. He died in 1895. So whatever, he would have been, I did work out how old he was when he died. He was 21, I believe, when he died. And the address all it gives for his death thing is Auburn, New York State. Now, obviously, Auburn. Yeah. So I'm wondering if he died in the prison at Auburn, because obviously that was quite a well-known prison, wasn't it? Because what I did also find is 2 years beforehand, he was in Allegheny County Jail.
Yes.
And he was part of an escape of a load of prisoners who's escaped from there 2 years previously. Now, the reason I thought it was interesting was they said it was completely out of character, and they were farmers, and he apparently lost it and threw this chair at his dad and killed him. And I thought, for the area, that's odd for a kid to suddenly lose it and kill their father.
Yeah. I don't think, maybe he didn't mean to kill him, but
maybe not. But then the fact his death address said Auburn, New York, and the first place I thought of was the prison, because obviously it's quite a famous penitentiary, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I thought that one was an interesting one. And that was that when it came up, it's Hinsdale. And then it says, and then when I was looking at his census records, it said there he lived in the Haskell Flats. And so I looked it up to see how close it was to Hinsdale.
Yeah, it's very close.
But yeah, that was one I found, and that was coming up in a lot of things, but not much information. So it would be interested on that one. Yeah, it was
it's funny too, like when you see these articles, and I've noticed doing research that the Associated Press would normally not. So, like for instance, the Orleans Times Record, the paper in that county wouldn't usually carry something like that, but then you may find it in Buffalo or San Francisco, or you find these stories in all different newspapers throughout the country, but maybe not in the local one. So
I found this in UK newspapers, this case.
See?
I found it in UK newspapers, and then I went to look at the New York State newspapers to see if it had any extra detail. And that's when I then found out about the Allegheny escape. But then I was looking on birth records and everything for when he died. But yeah, I thought that was quite a interesting one. But
You think maybe he got enchanted?
That was my thinking.
Maybe.
That makes me wonder what's going through the water down there in Hinsdale.
It's pretty good.
Do you like that one?
Yeah, that's
Is
pretty good.
that a face?
You'll be able
I told you I'd find something.
If you want. No, that's pretty cool.
I'm still on the stagecoach thing, because that's another thing, isn't it? That's people have said the stagecoach ran past the house, and I've looked at the Google Maps of it, and I can't work out where it could have been, and I'm determined to find it out.
Cassidy has maps showing it going up the main hill, up to Haskell Road, but just talking to previous residents, and knowing that there was a way station in the field, there's remnants of it there. You can't but help but think that maybe there was an off route that maybe wasn't on a map. I don't know, like just that I've heard from two previous residents, that they've said there was a dirt road. Where'd the rest of the road go? That Dan O'Brien came up to the house about 3 years ago, and that's the first thing he said to me. Where's the rest of the road? He was there as a young kid. There used to be a road that went right up the hill here.
Thing is, I mean, for me to look that up, you'd need to start looking at what stagecoach companies ran that route, what their routes were, and then sort of, I don't know if they kept like logbooks, like almost like captain's logbooks of what happened along the way, whether they were attacked, whether they lost cargo. Because the stagecoach was quite a limited lifetime, wasn't it? It was only about 50 years worth it ran for. So there's got to be something somewhere. It's just where. Maybe
that was the shortcut, or maybe that was how they have like the different routes when you go towards the city, either go through the city or you can go around the city.
Yeah, that's what made me wonder. Or maybe the stagecoach driver was in cahoots with someone and would take people there to rob them.
We will maybe never know.
Wow. You don't know me well enough yet. I won't forget about this. Every time I see something about stagecoaches in New York State, I'll be like, right, is there anything I can use in this? Because I won't forget. Now, you've mentioned people who've only lasted a few months living in the house. Obviously, you've owned it now for what, 6 years?
6 years. 2015. I think it's 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Has it ever scared you?
No. Not to the point where I had to, when I was there investigating, when I didn't know, okay, so the first time I ever went to the house, I didn't know that there was a failed exorcism there, and I didn't know until I sat in the house and watched the episode of A Haunting, a Dark Forest, and then I found out that I was sitting in the house that the story was based off. I was a little freaked out, but I've never been so scared where I had to run out of the house or I was frightened that bad. I think you become kind of null about that type of stuff after doing it for so many years. And I've had some experiences there that I can't explain. Captured some really cool pictures and really cool things, but I feel more at peace there than I do scared.
So do you almost think then whatever is there is kind of grateful for what you've done?
Yes. I kind of feel that way, but then I've also had alternatives. So I've had like Greg and Dana Newkirk from the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal Occult, and the group Haunt Me came there, and they kind of did things a little. Their theories were they flipped things around, So they're sitting there in the living room. They actually have a great series if anybody wants to watch it up on YouTube. They brought in some haunted items to the house to see how they interacted with the energies that were there, but the one little piece that I always focus on is that they sat in the living room and they did an EVP session, and they said, we don't want to speak to that spirits, we want to speak to the house, because not everybody says the house like it's its own entity,
Mm-hmm.
And we want to speak to the house. What do you want from us? And the EVP that they got back was energy. And to me, that just kind of like, so maybe it's being nice to me because I'm feeding it. Like I just think about these type of things, like they're gonna want me to feel good because I keep allowing people to come there. feed off their energy. Maybe, I don't know, but for the most part, I think people have positive interactions there. I'd say probably over 95% of the time.
So it doesn't have like an evil vibe.
It has a darker vibe. It has a heavy vibe. You can feel there's a darker energy there.
Right.
And it does, when it does come out, I just tell people, try to suppress it, try not to acknowledge it, go make sure that you're grounded and leave, and go do something else for a while, because it does. I mean, it's like, I feel like it's not part of the house though. I feel like it's part of what was there prior to the house being built.
Do you know what was there before?
No. Just land, I would suspect. I don't know.
So could it almost, I mean, this is sort of going above my field of expertise, but could it almost be elemental?
Yeah. I mean, we've had elemental research groups come out and get things that are unexplainable. We've had cryptid groups out that have picked up things that are unexplainable, and even pictures of creatures that we can't explain what they are. Why is it such a mecca for everything? I mean, even as a connection to UFOs, I mean, that they've seen in the 70s. We were just there doing a tour on Saturday night. We're doing a fundraiser for a pet rescue, and
oh yes, I saw Paul
photographs.
That's it. Yeah,
photographs for the pooches. Yeah, we were staring up into the sky, and we saw some things that we didn't know, like these light bursts, like, and who knows, like it looked like somebody took a mirror and kind of went like this and just kind of went up and down, and it was trying to like make a signal to us or something.
Okay.
It's interesting.
What about I mean, the name of the county,
Cattaraugus.
Cattaraugus, thank you very much. Has that got Native American? Is that a Native American?
It is.
Yeah. Have you spoken to any sort of Native Americans of the area and said, do you know why it's so active here?
Yeah, actually, one of my tour guides is of Seneca Nation descent, and
Right.
and I've had shamans there. Part of me kind of they focus on these Indian burial grounds that are there, and if you look at the history of the Native Americans that lived on the property, dating back to the Allegheny and the Native Americans that were there, you have to keep going back as far as the mound builders were, and how they got absorbed into the different tribes and whatnot. But there definitely was a big Native American element there. There was definitely wars fought on the property to the point where the town of Hinsdale got burned down, many deaths, blood soaked into the soil. I mean, we found, which I found out that they weren't arrowheads, they were spearheads that we found when we were digging the septic system in the back of the house. And we found spearheads that would have been carved by stone tool and used, if they were sharpened, they could have been used as a killing tool to get animals and stuff like that. So
hunting.
Definitely is a Native American vibe there, which is why we always pay homage to them, and which is why we started the giving tree up in the back of the house, so people can pay homage to the natives and the energies that are there, to know that we come in peace and just want positive interaction.
Well, the reason I mention it is because they had such a good knowledge of their land and had such a respect for the spirits of the land and everything else. And I wondered if they sort of had any stories of the land and whether it did have some kind of.
It's weird though. A lot of certain things they just don't tell you about.
Right.
They hold it into their tribe, and it's their tribe's information, and they don't tell us. So, I can say that we bring them out, and they do healing rituals on the property. So that means that they're healing something.
It's good to know that you're involving everyone. There's everyone has got something to offer, whether it's from the different types of researchers, like you say, from the cryptos, from the ufologists, from elemental, from ghost hunters, for want of a better term, to Native American groups, everything else. It's good to know. It's good to know. I just want to know what intrigues me is, that's why I asked you if it's ever scared you, but if it's frightened a family so much they left after 3 months and left to make it look like they hadn't left, it must have done something that freaked them out.
So I'll tell you a story. So last during COVID. It was not last June, but the June before that. A friend of mine, Kaylee, was she lived in outside of Hinsdale, and she'd never experienced anything paranormal, and it was slow because of COVID. And she wanted to go to the house, so we just planned a day, and we were going to spend the night and see what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quiet. We sat at the kitchen table and we talked, and it got to almost like 2, 3 in the morning, and nothing out of the ordinary had happened. So we went to go take a nap, before we had to get up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pitch dark in the house except for a little night light that was plugged in. And I turned over on the couch, and she was on the other couch, and I felt something brush the back of my neck. And I said, I just felt something, like I know I felt something. I'm not one to say that I get touched when I do these investigations. I very rarely have ever said, I think I said that one other time in all the years that I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned around and I saw this black shadow, this mass, like go in front of the light, blocked out the light, and then went past it. And you just take one of those big, it's right there. This is what we've been capturing on the camera. So I have a live camera right there. I've captured this on the cameras, and there it is right in front of me. And it went back and forth, and I kicked over. I'm like, Kaylee, and I kicked over on the couch, and she turned over. She says, oh my God, do you see that? I'm not seeing things. It's not an illusion. She's seeing it too. And it proceeded to go back and forth. Didn't do anything to harm us. Didn't come at us. Didn't go anything like that. And then it went into where a room used to be and dissipated. It was gone. And it was like, that was the end of the night for her, though. That she was ready to go after that. But I mean, I was okay. I stayed till 6:30 in the morning. That didn't bother me as much as it probably would have had I just started off.
I don't know. I can tell you a story about something similar that happened to me, and I couldn't leave.
Yeah.
I was on holiday. I've only been in the place for 2 days when it happened, and I wasn't going to give up another nearly 2 weeks of holiday to go home. So I had to work out a different way of dealing with it. But yeah, I just wonder what could have happened to someone to make them that scared that they.
Well, I think it's the power of the unknown, and if you move into a place not thinking about it and things start happening, if there's poltergeist activity, if your dogs are diving in front of cars that normally wouldn't have dove in front of a car and committed suicide. I mean, there's when you start piling it on top of each other, like, I need to get the hell out of here. I'm done.
Thing is, though, you and me, Dan, we'd probably be sit and try and work out what's going on and how to deal with it.
Yeah, I think at this point we both would. Yeah.
I try and have a conversation with them and say, look, I'm not here, it's getting pulled down.
Yeah.
What would you rather?
I've often said at like lectures and stuff that when I first saw a shadow person, I ran like a chicken. But today I think I'd run towards it just to see what's going on, what's going on. Can you give me some information here,
Yeah. I'll tell you off air what happened to me, because I think people have heard it before. But so if anyone's in the States and they want to come to Hinsdale, how do they go about it?
The easiest way is just to get in contact with me. No booking for the Hinsdale House gets done without speaking to me first. So I want to make sure that the people that are coming there are reputable, and that they are respectful, and that they have been doing this for a while, because I have different levels of different things that we offer there. So I just want to make sure everybody's good and safe. And if you go to my website, danielklaes.com, there's links to get in contact with me on any form of social media or my email address, or you just got to get in contact with me and set it up.
Cool. And that's not your only job, is it? I mean, you also work as a producer on, I mean, you see your t-shirt just there we go, on Deathwalker with Mr. Groff, who's been on my show before.
Yeah.
How's that going? How's that new series going?
It's going great. I mean, we're finishing up season 3 right now. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 more shoot dates for that. As far as like reenactments go, we have all the investigations shot, and we've already got episode 1 of season 3 over to our distributor, which means that that'll be coming over to the UK pretty soon, hopefully over there by October.
Brilliant.
And then we start filming season 4 in October.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, it's doing well. Are you
We're
get
putting together.
any chance you're coming to the UK for any to film any?
I don't think yet.
Ah,
Not for season 4, but I know that it's on his to-do list. So to get back over there.
brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Been an hour
That's
chatting.
crazy.
Chatting.
Yeah.
I'm determined to find some stuff out about stagecoaches now, because it's intrigued me. Like, they must have had, because I know our stagecoaches in the UK, you can get hold of what their routes were, so it must be documented somewhere.
Well,
Where?
if you do, that would come in very handy.
I shall. I'm sure we can come up with a deal if I do find them. But
There you go.
on that note, yeah, everyone go and follow Dan. Go and follow the Hinsdale House page and everything else. See what he's up to. He's a busy man, but as you can see, there's an awful lot of work goes into running a property and maintaining its reputation, I suppose, for want of a better term, and class, if you pardon the pun. Anyway, on that note, one thing we didn't say before I finish this off is we're not only recording this on the hottest day in the UK, it's also Dan's birthday.
Oh yeah.
Today. So happy birthday to you, Dan.
Thank you.
21 again.
That's right.
Yeah, you're
going off to celebrate in a little while.
Good. Well, thank you ever so much for listening, everyone. That has been Haunted Histories with yours truly, Penny Griffiths Morgan. Obviously, keep an eye on the page to see who my next guest will be. But on that note, have a good evening, sleep tight, and don't worry too much about things that go bump in the night.